Hello and welcome to today's webinar. We are at the dawn of a transformative AI era. With scalable computing, abundant data, and advanced machine learning like ChatGPT, AI's true potential is now unleashed. Generative AI has surged onto the global stage, disrupting business practices and models. As leaders, innovators, and analysts, we are engaged in a race to effectively harness and apply generative tools everywhere. But how do we best do that? How do we do that on an effective, trust manner? How do we do that ethically and impactfully? I'm your host today. My name is Pascal Bornet. I've been working in the space of artificial intelligence for the last 2 decades, where I headed artificial intelligence and intelligent automation divisions for McKinsey and for EY. I wrote the first book on intelligent automation, which involves generative AI. Today, I'm grateful to be your host, and I'm very lucky to be joined by Nachi. Nachi, you are the COO and executive board member of LTIMindtree. You're bringing 30 years of business technology expertise to this debate. Welcome, Nachi. How are you today?
Thank you, Pascal, for having me. I'm really looking forward to the conversation on this very interesting topic.
Excellent. I'm also very excited by that. And when we hear, for example, Bloomberg saying that over the next 10 years, there will be a growth of generative AI market by 100 times. I think this illustrates well how fast all this is going when you think that generative AI is just a few years old. Nachi, I would love to know, in your views, what factors do you believe have driven this change? And is it possible that it is merely a hype, basically?
I personally think it's not hype. And the potential that the generative AI technology has to transform and impact almost every knowledge job that we have around the world is immense. And it's the time horizon in which this impact will be well understood. You can debate whether it's few years away or it's 3 years, whether it's 5 years. That's anybody's guess at the moment. But I don't think the potential and the impact of that technology is hype anymore. There is enough evidence to prove that it's real and it's here to stay. And my view, what sort of factors drove this sudden potential or emerging of the sudden potential of generative AI is, like with any disruptive technology, I think technology has been around for some years. There has been a lot of work that has been going on, especially in the academic circles, and the technology per se is not very recent. It's been worked upon for probably 10 or 15 years. But what made it suddenly this disruptive is with the kind of computing power that was available, and hence the kind of accuracy that the large language models were able to achieve, and which got, first time it got publicly displayed with the GPT 3.5. And that's really where, in my view, came the turning point, that with that level of accuracy, a lot of things suddenly became very viable. And now you see a huge amount of acceleration of not only the improvements on that technology, which happens probably every second now around the world, with so many startups and so many researchers continue to improve it. But at the same time, it became significantly viable to put real business use cases on that. And the value realization became very real. So I believe that's why there's been a lot more talk about it in the last 9 months. And it's really now become a technology that's accessible to us today and is going to transform how we do things now and probably for some more years to come.
have you seen, Nachi, have you seen um, key use cases or examples of how your clients, for example, have been using Gen AI for now?
So different clients are at a different sort of a phase of adoption. Like with all new technology, there are certain set of clients which are early adopters. They like to experiment with the cutting edge of technology, and there are some which sort of wait for technology to mature a bit. So we're seeing a full spectrum of those when it comes to generative AI technology as well. So the clients which have been early adopters, they have seen a huge benefit in two or three areas. First area that they've seen significant benefits is any summarization, document synthesization, information synthesization type of use cases, where it is about a financial services companies trying to find out all the analyst rating for a particular stock and summarizing it for their potential investors in wealth management, that kind of use cases. Or you would see use cases being applied on regulatory related changes that are happening around us to really find out the impact, what's relevant for us and what's not. So any use cases where typically you would have taken weeks or sometimes months synthesizing information to figure out its impact, I think this technology is sort of making it available in minutes, in some cases even in seconds. So we're seeing that type of use cases fairly mature. The other type of use cases that we're seeing also reasonably catching pace is around the productivity of the knowledge workers, right? So whether it is around code generation, whether it is around test case generation in the software engineering lifecycle, whether it is around generating synthetic data for certain types of applications. So a lot of productivity related pieces on the software engineering are also seeing a significant progress in that. Where people are still experimenting with it is, I would say, is on the, and but it is changing very fast, is on the customer interaction points. So a touch point with customers in terms of support use cases, in terms of identifying right cross-sell upsell opportunities, looking at the next best thing for those. Now that area I believe is still in the proof of concept stage, but the first two areas we're seeing a good level of adoption and benefits realizing already.
Amazing. Thanks for giving us this landscape of Gen AI adoption in companies in general. This is from what you've seen on the ground, helping clients, organizations around the world. But you also at LTIMindtree commissioned an excellent report that I encourage the audience to read, which is about the state of generative AI adoption and basically providing the lessons from the early adopters on the technology. Um, what based on this report and based on the learnings that you get from this research, what do you think is the roadmap for success when adopting generative AI? What barriers must organizations get ready to overcome?
So the survey data that we got, that's getting published in that report, suggests that a 4 or 5 key barriers that most of the customers are experiencing. I think first and foremost is quality and accuracy of data available within the enterprise. So making sure that they have confidence in the data that they're using to train these models and then use these models for inferences. The second thing that I think all of us are facing is the infrastructure availability and the cost of that infrastructure. Right? The whole GPU wait time is known for everyone in the industry. So being able to have access to that infrastructure to train your LLM models, customize the LLM models, that's still a very constrained environment, and hence that's big constraint that's affecting adoption as well. The third area that is also, and it varies from region to region, but it's also impacting adoption, is the regulatory hurdles or regulatory constraints in some areas. And those regulatory concerns, for example, in some cases are driven by data privacy. Are you allowed to have access to that data? Are you allowed to use that data to train the model, and how do you really prove what data was used to train what model. So whole lineage and traceability, all of that requirements for you to be able to utilize these technologies is also another constraint that's slowing down the adoption to some degree. Of course, the fourth thing, I think, it being a significantly new area, access to skill sets, to people who can actually help you with these from a technology perspective, from a data science perspective, from prompt engineering perspective, from model management perspective. So the skill sets availability and the uh, uh, timely availability of skill set is also another constraint. So these are the impediments for people to adopt. So the other part of the question you asked, Pascal, was about is there a roadmap for that successful adoption, right? Based on that report. So I think number one step I would say is that a platform-based approach is important approach to take for all the enterprises. And what I mean by that is generative AI applications won't be a standalone application in your enterprise. It is going to be impacting, or it is going to be present in every process, business process, and every customer touch point to make that business process smart or make that touch point very rich, which means you will need to embed generative AI in all your business processes and applications. And for that, it is important for you to have a platform approach so that you can democratize its use within your enterprise and still have all the regulatory aspects, security aspects, all of those covered in the platform. The second piece that we looked at is what should you keep in the central organization versus what you allow the individual business units or individual functions or geographies to innovate. That combination is also very important, because the real use cases, you will need to let the functions or the teams that interact with the customer or the product owners need to actually innovate. But you need a central team which can give access to this infrastructure and technology and skill sets. So that's the other part in terms of the organization design of this generative AI team within your organization is an important element for you to then succeed on that.
The governance aspect of it.
Correct. The governance aspect of it. And the last put I would put is also the agility and speed at which you can innovate on the individual use cases, because things are evolving so much that you can't take 3-6 months to get to a outcome. You need to have a model by which within a few weeks you should be able to test out your hypothesis and get some of these use cases going. So the speed of delivery on these experiments and then scaling those experiments within your enterprise for production deployment is the another. So these would be the steps that I would.
And this is where we see the importance of having the right platform that helps you to train, to deploy, to test, do all this in the same place. Nachi, how do you see the Gen AI space evolving in the coming years? Where do you think are some potential future trends that we should be aware of?
So the first thing, Pascal, I think will happen is almost every knowledge job, I feel, would be impacted by this technology. And largely it will be augmenting every human in whatever jobs that we do, in terms of helping us achieve a much higher productivity than what we have seen in the past, and more importantly, help us achieve a lot more efficiency and a lot more effectiveness in those jobs that we do, and especially the knowledge jobs that are largely going to be enhanced, I believe, with the technology like generative AI.
Correct, Nachi. I have a recent survey here from BCG that says that thanks to generative AI, their research shows that workers, are achieving 40% higher quality work, 25% faster using generative AI.
Absolutely.
I thought this was a good illustration to your point.
Absolutely. And what we'll see is, I think a lot, it's like doing more with less. a lot more things will get done. And Pascal, you also would have experienced, we still, if you look at in the enterprise technology world, still large scale transformation programs are like 18-month, several $100 million in that spend. And I feel that will get significantly crunched with something like this. You wouldn't run transformation programs which will be that long. It will be a lot more shorter, and you get a lot more done in a short period of time. I also feel
Exactly.
the field of creativity around content creation, around uh, whether it's videos, whether it is images, whether it is text, all of that, and technology. So you would see that in an industry you would had creative um, people jobs, and then you had technology jobs to then adopt or mainstream or scale those. I think that line is starting to blur, where technology is starting to play a significant more role. And of course, it's not without the copyright challenges and the controversies around what's the right thing and what's not the right thing. So that I'm sure that continues to be a central debate that needs to be resolved as we go along. But the potential is there that you know I would say more jobs are becoming technology jobs than not, with the advent of things like generative AI. Its impact on healthcare industry is expected to be significant in terms of making healthcare cost more cheap, affordable, and its access a lot better around the world, around the economies, and around the society. So I see this as the real potential of impact this technology is likely to have as we go forward.
Thanks, Nachi. Thanks for sharing all this, and we can see the power that generative AI gives to organizations and people in delivering more value to the world. Nachi, I mean, we've been talking about this research that LTIMindtree commissioned that gives great insight on the level of adoption, the critical success factors for Gen AI. Where can the audience find this insight?
So this report is available on our website, and along with this report, there are a lot of other resources and thought leadership material that is also available. And I would encourage all of the audience to visit our website and download this report. There's a great insight. We've surveyed 400 plus stakeholders around the globe, and they're not just our customers, but all of the enterprises that have participated in this survey, and very good insights on what's been uh, helpful for them, what's been challenging for them, what's the path of success that they've found. So it's a very, very insightful report, and especially the ones that are not yet started with their journey will, give them a huge amount of head start if they consume this data.
Excellent. Well, I mean, yeah, I really liked reading it and the insights coming from it. Um, what I found different in this report from the other research that I've seen that I read is that this one really focuses on where we are in companies currently with the adoption of Gen AI. Thank you, Nachi, and thank you to the audience.
You, bye.